Your life at various levels of Bitcoin wealth. Let's look at that in this video, along with how difficult it actually is for someone to become a whole coiner, to buy a full Bitcoin if they're at that median wage in the US. We'll look at different scenarios for how quickly you can do that. And we'll go through some of the top news in reverse order. So we'll go through the news, look at how difficult it is to become a whole coiner, and then what amount of Bitcoin you need to feel various levels of Bitcoin wealth. If you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this. If you want to trade crypto, there are links underneath the video to BidFi and to Ubit. So BidFi allows you to trade cryptocurrency using leverage. You can get up to $10,000 every single month. We run this campaign where you can get thousands of dollars just for trading on the platform. You can see there are about 10 days left where you can get this $10,000, and we've given away over 6 figures of money back to the trading community. There's also a link to Ubit where you can trade over 1,000 different assets from stocks to crypto. Crypto's obviously seen a huge move recently. We have this trade. It's kind of a smaller trade for me, but it's over a 50% gain in just a few days, and that was on top of a couple trades that we already took profits on. So if you do want to trade cryptocurrency, you can check out the links in the link tree. Now, the market is green, whether it's the traditional markets or the crypto market. Of course, crypto has been running away a lot more than the general market. It's run from about 60,000, 61,000 to 77,000. It was already at 80,000 this morning. Why is that? Well, there's one obvious reason. Jim Cramer sold his Bitcoin on July 31 over quantum fears. All right, I'm kind of tongue-in-cheek here, but he sold towards the exact bottom. He said, the IBM CEO knows Bitcoin and quantum. I'm going to sell mine. Yeah, that's so funny how wrong Jim Cramer is constantly. One of the major reasons we are seeing Bitcoin move up so aggressively are the massive amount of short liquidations. We saw $3 billion in shorts liquidated yesterday, $1.2 billion today. This is actually a record. So this is the largest single day wipeout of shorts ever recorded. We've seen longs get liquidated like this, but never shorts, never so aggressively. Now we actually put Bitcoin into bullish territory over the short-term older cost basis, previous cycle all-time high, and ETF rally high, according to the rational root. Yeah, a lot of charts are starting to turn a little bit more bullish. I still am leaning towards that will fall down later this year, but I have been very clear for the last year that I've been dollar cost averaging. I'm not trying to time the exact bottom. I think that's the smartest thing to do because I am very bullish on Bitcoin over the next few years, so I'm not going to try to time it perfectly. So let me know if you're dollar cost averaging down below in the comments. We saw massive flows from the ETFs yesterday with $517 million in net inflows. Still relatively small compared to what we saw during the bull market, but definitely the largest that we've seen in months during the bear market. We had $5.3 billion in total volume. This is one of those things where the price going up makes people more bullish, which brings in more volume, which brings in more traders, which brings in more good price action, which gets people bullish, and then it's just this continuous loop. The one thing that's working against crypto is that we typically bottom a month or two from now, and I think a lot of people are kind of waiting for that before they pile in significant amounts of money. But if we stay up long enough, if let's say this price action continues, or we just kind of go sideways for the next couple months, and we never hit that next massive liquidation and cascade down, well, then people will be a little bit more comfortable putting money in. So at this point, I think there are a lot of people that are still just waiting, which could add some firepower later this year. The CFTC chairman, Mike Selig, says if Clarity continues to stall, the CFTC will utilize its existing authorities to begin establishing a regime for crypto asset markets. We owe it to the American people to do so. So we have the CFTC, we have the SEC, we have the president, and Vicente, I think, has said too, basically they're bullish on crypto, they're bullish on the Clarity Act, they're bullish on possibly even adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets among maybe a few other cryptocurrencies. Big week, it seems like, for like for news, not that there's anything that's specifically happened for the US government and for crypto, but they've been referencing it a lot, which I think just reiterates to people that it is on their docket, that they will pass the Clarity Act at some point and give companies a better framework for how to work. Vicent also came out and said something extremely bullish for crypto, which is basically a few days ago, he said that they were going to be buying back treasury notes. And instead of $2 billion or less, they're going to do $4 billion or more per period. And just yesterday, he said that the buybacks could actually be bigger than the $4 billion we announced. So he just came out and said again, reiterated, hey, we're here. We're going to make sure that yields go down. Now, treasury yields haven't really gone down since he mentioned this, but I think it's a signal to the markets, hey, if it's not technically quantitative easing, we're very focused on making sure that the markets perform well. Like, we're very focused on keeping yields lower because it's expensive for everyone. And basically they said, we have debt passing 40 trillion. We need to outgrow this debt. And how do you outgrow it? Well, right now it's the AI trade. All these major companies are spending as much as they're making. So they have to take out debt, they have to issue shares. And if debt is a little bit more expensive because they're competing with US treasuries that are high in yield, well, then they can't grow as quickly. And then the government continues to go into more debt from interest payments and from, GDP not being quite as high, which causes less tax payments, etc. So that's where we're at right now. Now, Bitcoin, like I said, it's looking good. It hit just about 80,000, then got rejected. I'd say it's looking good, and then some people in the comments will say, well, you said you were bearish that Bitcoin was going to go down later this year. Yes, and I still think that's a possibility, but as I've said 100 times during this bear market, I'm not waiting for the exact bottom $2 cost average. If you are, I think you're making a mistake because we don't know when eventually Bitcoin will do its thing and be slightly different from previous cycles, but close enough. This still, I think, would, if we already hit bottom, let's say we hit bottom back in July, I'd say this is still very close to previous cycles. We topped out around the exact same time. We went down for not a year, but we went down for 9 months, which is pretty darn similar. And then we bottomed. If we do what I think we're going to do, which is we have a fake out rally like we've had several times here, we get rejected at a lower high, and then we go down to a new low. Well, it'd be exactly like what I expected. Don't even be surprised either if we break out slightly above this previous high, just to draw in liquidity. Like, can't you imagine that happening? We go to maybe 83, 84,000. Everyone thinks, oh, we have a higher high finally. We're bullish, and then we get rejected back down. I know I'm saying that there are very many possibilities, but there are. And the fact is, you have to be willing to roll with any of these punches. And how do you win in all these scenarios? Will you dollar cost average over time? You don't try to pick out the exact bottom. So that way, maybe you buy here at 67,000, then 69,000, then 81,000, then 68,000, then 60,000, then 63,000, then again at 77,000. And you just continue to buy. And then maybe your average cost basis is 65,000 or something like that, 66,000 over this time period. Keep in mind, we've had months to buy right around the low 60,000 range. So it's inevitable that we're going to see some price action at some point that draws people back into crypto. So just, we're looking bullish now. I'm not overly exuberant thinking we're just going back to all-time highs. I'm not super bearish thinking we're just going to crash back down. There's a range of possibilities. And I'm going to win in all of them as long as Bitcoin goes up over time, which I think it will. Now let's move on. How many people can become whole coiners? Let's talk about that. Then we'll go through the Bitcoin levels of wealth. So the US median family, I read this maybe a year ago, that the US median family makes around $80,000. Now maybe that's too low for where you're at, maybe it's too high, but I think that's a pretty good estimate. The top 20% is around $150,000. Okay, let's say that their savings rate for the median family is 10%. That might be a little bit too high, but we'll use it here. The top 20% we'll say can save 20% of their income. Again, some people will say this is too high. Some people will say, well, what about taxes? Okay, well, everyone's tax situation is different. So just stick with me here. The price of one Bitcoin is $80,000 today. The median family can save maybe $8,000 in a year. Top 20% can maybe save $30,000. So the time to one Bitcoin for the median family is 10 years. And that's if they're putting everything into Bitcoin, right? Everything that they make or everything that they save, which most probably don't. If you save 10% of your income, a lot of that is probably just going to your 401k, maybe an HSA, a health savings account. In the top 20%, maybe you have a little bit more discretionary to put towards investments that you want to put because maybe your company doesn't match a lot. And then you can put maybe the rest into Bitcoin. But if you went all into Bitcoin with your savings, it would take 2.66 years. If you put every dollar in at, of that $30,000. But keep in mind, a lot of people don't want to put everything that they save into Bitcoin, right? They maybe put a fraction of it. So the median family, let's say 2 of the 10%, so 20% of what they save, they put into Bitcoin. It would take 50 years to buy one Bitcoin. When I did this last, Bitcoin was actually $40,000, which is interesting. I just had to update this page or the spreadsheet beforehand, and Bitcoin's doubled over that time. Bitcoin doesn't stay the same price. It continues to move up, just like I talked about. Let's say it goes up 20% annually. So instead of buying Bitcoin and it taking, 10 years, you would never get to a full Bitcoin because the price goes up faster than you can buy. So the first year you buy 1/10 of a Bitcoin, and then you have the same $8,000, but you're buying at $96,000 Bitcoin. So then you get like 0.08. Then it goes up another 20%, you're getting 0.06. You can just never buy it. Even in the top 20%, you would think, well, it would take less than 3 years to buy Bitcoin because I have $30,000 a year. It costs $80,000. No, it actually takes 4 years. And that's if you put everything into Bitcoin because, again, price goes up to 96,000, then 115,000, then 130-something thousand. So it takes 4 years. But again, you're not usually putting in every dollar into Bitcoin. You're putting like 20%, 50% or something of what you're investing into Bitcoin. So again, the US median family can never get to a full Bitcoin. Top 20% can never even hit a full Bitcoin if they put 20% of what they save into Bitcoin. Now, is this supposed to be encouraging? I don't know. I guess if you have a full Bitcoin, maybe. Is it supposed to discourage you? No. The fact is you don't need a full Bitcoin to make a significant difference in your life. Like Berkshire Hathaway stock, the Class A shares, they're hundreds of thousands of dollars. Do you need a full one to change your life? No. I mean, if you have a half a share, it's better than no share, right? Especially if there's been price appreciation. Bitcoin's the same way. You don't need a full Bitcoin. So let's look at the Bitcoin levels of wealth, right? Various levels that are significant in my mind. This is not all of them. Actually, the first one we should start with is 0.01. You have some amount in Bitcoin that shows that you actually know how to buy Bitcoin. You probably know what Bitcoin is. You've accumulated it. You start to have skin in the game. About $800 worth of Bitcoin right now. Moving on from there, 0.12 puts you among the elite holders. Now, it might not sound like that much. 0.12 Bitcoin. Anyone can buy that, some people might say. Well, not really. 0.12 Bitcoin costs just about $10,000 right now, which a lot of people actually have 10,000 US dollars. I'm not saying everyone does, but there are a lot of people, if you walk down the street, that have a significant amount of US dollars. $10,000, I'd say, is more or is less than a lot of middle class families or upper middle class families have just in a savings account in case there's an emergency or something. So 10,000 US dollars does not put you anywhere elite, but 0.12 Bitcoin does. $10,000 in an asset that has extreme upside is significant. It's an asset class that's still young. Bitcoin sitting at $80,000. Let's say it goes up to $200,000. That gets you $25,000 in Bitcoin at that point, right? So accumulating now, having a significant amount later. A lot of people can't put $25,000 into Bitcoin. Right? You start thinking about it like that middle class family. It's very difficult. It would take years and years and years and years and years and years of buying Bitcoin, especially if they're not putting in everything that they can. So 0.12 Bitcoin right now still is a significant amount. The median family would take over a year to save and invest that. They put every dollar into Bitcoin. So I think that puts you among elite holders. Now, does that put you in the top 1%? No, the next level does. 0.21 Bitcoin puts you in the top 1% of the world. Why do I say that? Well, there are 21 million Bitcoin. We'll call it 10 billion people. So 0.21 Bitcoin puts you in the top 1%. Now, there's still a lot of people that have more than 0.21 Bitcoin, but 0.21 Bitcoin is a significant amount. Now, does it put you amongst the millionaires? Yeah, probably it does. The average millionaire probably has less than 0.21 Bitcoin, but if you want to guarantee that, well, 0.25. There's somewhere around 60 million millionaires in the world. It could be higher now, but 0.25 Bitcoin per millionaire is the math. Basically, let's say there are 15 million Bitcoin left. A lot of Bitcoin is lost, right? So 15 million Bitcoin, 60 million millionaires, 0.25 Bitcoin per millionaire. But there are a lot of billionaires and millionaires that have more than 0.25, so that number actually gets drawn down. I'd say the amount that could actually be spread to the millionaires is probably under 0.1, maybe 0.15, but 0.25 guarantees it. So that's a significant amount. Obviously, during this next bull run, let's say Bitcoin hits 200,000, that's $50,000 worth of Bitcoin. So a very high level to get to, a very difficult level to get to during a bull run. Now it's achievable though, $20,000 Bitcoin or $20,000 of Bitcoin. Now 0.5 Bitcoin gets you 6 figures of Bitcoin during this next cycle. Again, assuming a $200,000 Bitcoin. Kind of a big psychological level there because 0.5 is halfway to a whole Bitcoin. But also, if you have 6 figures in an asset, I think that's a big mentality change. Now, a lot of this is arbitrary at the end of the day. Is there that much of a difference between $99,000 in an asset and $100,000 in an asset? No. It's just kind of arbitrary. Like when if you're a weightlifter, you have 2 plates on the bench press on both sides. In the US, that would be 225 pounds. Is there that big a difference between 220 and 225 pounds? No, it's like a 2% difference, but it's a huge psychological change. Same thing if you're a runner and you are running a 6-minute mile or just sub 6 minutes, maybe 5 minutes and 59 seconds versus 6 minutes and 1 second. Again, a very small difference, but psychologically, it's a good milestone to hit. So 0.5 gets you 6 figures in the next cycle. A lot of skin in the game, 6 figures. 1 cements you in history as a whole coiner. Especially in bull runs, people like to make a big thing out of having a whole Bitcoin. I think it will be less and less of a thing as time goes on because it'll just be harder and harder to become a whole coiner. Like people won't be talking about it because having $1 million in one asset is going to be unrealistic for a lot of people. So it's kind of a fun level to get to now, a whole coin, but it's going to be unrealistic. So most people won't talk about it, but it will still be a big deal. 1 full Bitcoin, very difficult to hit, big psychological level. Eventually, will be worth 6 figures and 7 figures, and then 5. 5 is another huge level, I think. I'd say 2 2 is nice too, because you can kind of sell 1 Bitcoin or like take profits over time to fund your lifestyle, and then keep 1. But 5, I think, allows you to systematically sell and buy during cycles without losing your full Bitcoin allocation. Now, some people would say, well, I never want to sell Bitcoin. And sure, that's fine. But let's say it becomes a significant part of your wealth and you don't want to deal with loans. You just want to sell and have things be easy, right? You want to take profits. You want to fund your lifestyle. At the end of the day, that's what investing is for. Now, some people want to pass money down for generations, create generational wealth. Some people, though, I think a lot of wealthy people, after they become wealthy, they realize, I don't necessarily want to give my children and my heirs a lot of money. Maybe you help them along the way, but you don't want to just give them everything. You realize your grind kind of helped you grow as a person. So maybe you want to systematically sell, buy things that you've always wanted, pay for vacations, have good times during your life, and be able to do the things that you want to do. So maybe you do want to sell an asset, even that you're bullish on, to systematically buy life experiences. So at 5 Bitcoin, this next cycle, if Bitcoin hits $200,000, you have $1 million in Bitcoin. Maybe you take some profits off the table. Maybe it's a full Bitcoin, right? Then maybe that allows you to buy a little bit heavier during the next bear market. Or maybe it allows you to buy your next house. Maybe it allows you, or to put a down payment on it. Maybe it allows you to take some unforgettable vacations. Maybe it allows you to diversify or start a business or retire and feel a little bit more comfortable with some cash in the bank. But 5, I think, is a level where mentally you can still always, hold on to a Bitcoin and still see that you've had a great gain, but it allows you to take profits off the table without being so worried that you're missing out. But let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Of course, I could do more levels on either end, either more levels under 0.12 or more levels above 5. If I had to put one above 5, let's think. I'd say 20. Is it obviously 10 psychological level, right? But 20 Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's at $200,000, gives you $4 million worth of Bitcoin. Bitcoin moves up or down 5% a day. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars and change. But $4 million gives you a really good retirement. Like, let's take it out of Bitcoin for a second and just throw in the S&P 500. A lot of people consider the 4% rule a pretty good guideline for what you can spend. So 4% of $400,000 is $160,000 a year. You could spend something like $13,000 a month. Let's say you even pay taxes and it goes down to $3 million or something. Okay, that's $10,000 a month. It's in Bitcoin, so it's much more volatile, much harder to feel good about taking a certain percentage out and selling it because the bear markets and bull markets are so volatile. It can affect the math. But at the end of the day, if you want to sell everything and put it into the S&P 500, you could retire and live a very nice lifestyle. So I think that's a huge psychological level. And if you don't want to sell Bitcoin, I'd say most people that have 20 Bitcoin probably don't have all their wealth in Bitcoin. It's probably a diversifier, unless they're just an OG that bought it a long time ago and then just never sold. But yeah, it could be a great diversifier as well. And maybe you don't have to sell it because you have $10, $20 million and then only $4 or $5 million is in Bitcoin. But I'd say that's another key level. Let me know what you think. Are any of my levels off? Should I be adding levels? Let me know if you like these videos down below in the comment section. If you do want to trade crypto, if you want to trade Bitcoin, you can check out the link underneath the video. In the link tree, there's a link to BitFi and to Ubit. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all soon. Bye. Just a reminder, this is not financial advice. This is not legal advice. Do your own research. I'm never going to reach out to you either in the comment section or through any other means to try to get you to invest in something that I'm investing in or to send me crypto. Some links underneath the video are affiliate links. I may earn a commission, but this is at no extra cost to you. Of course, do your own due diligence.